I got an email, Brian, from one of our recent emailers. You remember Elijah Odinade from Norcross, Georgia, do you not?
Wasn't it just like last week? Yeah.
Yes, because he heard the segment we did reading his email. And guess what he sent me? He cut and pasted it. I can't credit a website, but it is off the internet. It's the results of an IWA event from July 8th, 1975 at Roosevelt Stadium in Jersey City, New Jersey. That's where they had to go to try to fight Vince Vince Sr., because the garden was locked up and etc. There was no Meadowlands at that point, I don't believe. But now, let me read his email first. Hi, Jim and Brian. I was so excited when you responded on the experience to my question about Power Mike and the IWA reruns airing in Nigeria. This led me to do some cursory research on what was the alleged history of Power Mike as a wrestler and promoter, which I attached, and he's got the history there, but this was the cut and paste job here that I've got is more to the point. I've also attached a match card of a July 8th, 1975 IWA card, Roosevelt Stadium, Jersey City. And he said, I'm not sure if this would air on their TV show or possibly just clips shown or whatever. I bet none of it probably aired because they did a studio taping at the time.
Yeah, but I never heard of any footage of it. No.
But July 8th, 1975, this has got the results from the internet somewhere here. And after the opening match in which Daisy May defeated Maria De Leon. What's a Delio?
De Leon.
De Leon? De Leon?
No, De Leon. There's an N at the end, isn't there?
De Leon. But anyway, after that match, it says Jerry Lawler defeats Danny Sharp. Now, besides the fact that I've never heard of Danny Sharp, I started looking in my Tennessee history books, and then I realized that July 1975 was the period of time where Lawler and Jarrett were somewhat on the outs for the first 6 months or so of 75, and they'd sent Lawler to Georgia and Florida during that period of time to kind of maybe not get so much of a big head since he just set all them box office records. And he brought him back in August of 1975. But to point, when I looked in my reference books, July 8th, 1975 was a Tuesday night. Tuesday night in Roosevelt Stadium? It was Tuesday night, the wrestling night in Jersey City, Brian. That's your neck of the woods.
I don't know if there was a wrestling night in Jersey City at that point. Monday night was typically the Garden.
Free beer night, I think, in Jersey City probably would have drawn. But anyway, so I don't know where Lawler was on July the 8th, right off the top of my head. Probably, again, somewhere in, I think at that point in Georgia or Florida. But do you ever remember seeing him work or hearing of him work for the IWA? I guarantee you, if you brought it up to him right now, he would remember it. And that's not a joke because he's had a stroke 40 years ago. He couldn't remember Evansville last Wednesday.
I've talked to people who attended this card. It was a big deal at the time. Mil Mascaras versus Ivan Koloff. That was a big deal.
Well, no, hold on. This, according to this card, because there was more than one Roosevelt Stadium card. This one was where it was Mascaras and Ernie Ladd for the title.
Oh.
In the main event. It's because the first one was a big one, but did they not?
But it was like July of 75. I guess that's what's throwing me off.
Well, then, or is this some made up results here? Because I seem to remember that they ran the Roosevelt Stadium more than once.
Right.
A couple of times, few times, whatever. But that you are correct. That was the main event on the first big show, but this has Mascaras and Ernie Ladd, along with Bulldog Brower and Mighty Igor, Apollo and Luis Martinez against the Mongols, and as was the habit with the IWA, 18 more matches, it seems like.
Huh.
But why, if Lawler was working in Georgia or Florida, those were NWA offices, and they wouldn't have been. The IWA was running opposition at that time specifically to Vince and trying to do national TV syndication. Had they gone to the Carolinas yet? Johnny Powers was with them. Were they afoul of some NWA office at that point? But why would just a random, preliminary match with Lawler, who was only a name in Tennessee and on no other television by that point? This is odd. Someone out there, if Big Andy Varga was still around.
Is he alive still?
That's why I just said if he was still around.
Well, that just means if he's going to the conventions, not if he's
No, I mean, if he's 30 years ago, he was an older man than me. So I'm thinking he's, but Big Andy, we love you. If you're still around, you'd know, you probably were there. But I used to get I got such an incredible amount of my prized late 50s wrestling collectibles from Big Andy. But anyway, that's odd. I wanted to bring that up.
That's really, I've never heard anyone ever say anything about Jerry Lawler working those shows. I had Mike O'Hara on 605 a few years back. It's available at 605pod.com or anywhere else. He went to the show. He talked all about it and the circus-like atmosphere right outside of it because of the weather and the rain and everything else. But that was the first show. That was in July. This is a month later.
Well, no, this is July. This is July 8th, 1975. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on.
Or is it August 7th?
It's August 7th. These daggum Englanders, they put
It's from Georgia, the guy who sent it to you.
Well, no, but he cut and pasted it from a fucking website. And they put the month after the day rather than the day of you know what I'm saying to you. They do it backwards over there, along with having no ice machine. So this was in 07, 08, 75 to them means August 7th, correct?
I believe so. I believe that would be correct.
Well, that's why that we're fucking confused here. You're confused, aren't you?
I've never heard of Jerry Lawler working at Roosevelt Stadium, so yeah.
Well, that confused me at first, but now I got confused about the date. I just want you to admit that I wasn't the only one that was confused.
I have the program. I have a copy of the card listed in the program here. In the program, it says Ricky Starr versus Pez Pronto.
Wait a minute. Pez Whatley is down here defeating Joe Turco, but Ricky Starr was defeated Bull Johnson.
Oh yeah, because this has
Pez Pronto.
This has Johnny Powers versus Joe Turco.
He defeated Thomas Marin, according to the results.
Rip Hawk and Beautiful Bruce versus Miguel Perez and Carlos Colon.
They nailed that one. Colon and Perez beat Swayze and Hawk.
Louis Martinez and Argentina Paulo versus Hartford Love and Reginald Love, the Love brothers, managed by Al Costello.
That is incorrect. Argentino Apollo and Luis Martinez defeated the Mongols, Bolo and Guito, while Dino Bravo and Tex McKenzie defeated Reginald and Hartford Love.
Tex McKenzie versus Ivan Koloff.
No, you are incorrect, sir. I'm thinking Ivan may not have made the plane. Ivan Koloff not on the card.
Lou Thez versus Eric the Red.
And he beat Eric the Red by disqualification.
That's a weird match, you know. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the all-time legends is here. Multiple-time world champion. You haven't seen him here in the Northeast in forever. And his opponent, Eric the Red. And it just doesn't... Cowboy Bob Ellis and Nelson...
Well, and also look at it this way. Here is a man who was trained in the various gyms in St. Louis by the Ray Steeles and the Ad Santels and the great shooters of the day in the 30s and 20s. And then here is a big fat guy with red hair from Florida.
At Roosevelt Stadium. So basically it's like, here's Lou Thez. Next week, the Grateful Dead return. Let's go back here. Cowboy Bob Ellis and Nelson Royal versus Lars Anderson and Kurt Von Hess.
Well, as a matter of fact, Kurt Von Hess and Lars Anderson defeated Cowboy Bob Ellis and Nelson Royal, who apparently they were the cowboy connection there.
Now, you already said this next one didn't happen. The tag team champions, the Mongols, Guido and Bolo versus Dino Bravo and Gino Brito. You didn't mention him before. I'm guessing maybe Gino, had a meeting.
I'm not seeing Gino has left the building. I'm not seeing Gino. That's why they had to switch these important tag team contests around a little bit.
North American Championship, Dick the Bulldog Brower versus the Mighty Igor.
And Dick the Bulldog Brower retained that championship by defeating the Mighty Igor.
And finally, for the International World title, Mil Mascaras versus the Big Cat, Ernie Ladd.
And Mascaras defeated Ernie Ladd 2 falls to 1, which means somehow, by fair means or foul, whether he wanted to or not, Ernie pinned the masked man at least once in that contest.
Well, we'll see what anyone in the Northeast remembers about Jerry Lawler being on that show. You don't hear a lot about the second show. You hear a lot about that first show because it was a big deal. What was the last time anyone ran against Vince? Was it Jim Crockett and Antonino Rocca? Who was the last person to run against them in the Northeast? It was a big deal.
It would have been, and that was the 63 to 64 time frame. So it had been 10 years since it. I mean, there were always the local shows in, at Gleason's gym or whatever, but
Vega International.
On any kind of platform or mainstream basis or competition wise, no, it didn't happen very often. But yeah, it doesn't make sense. Again, why would a Georgia, Florida, or Tennessee offices send? In Tennessee, he was a main event guy. In Georgia and Florida, he was at least on the middle card, and they knew he was going to come back to Memphis. And Barnett worked closely with Jerry Jarrett at that point. I don't know how this got on the deal, unless can somebody provide photographic evidence?
I question if it's, I don't know. Never heard anything about it. Doesn't make too much sense. I mean, in a lot of ways, this is right after the Georgia War, and Jerry Lawler was clearly on the side with Jerry Jarrett and the NWA. Why would he all of a sudden?
Well, yeah, that's right. He had worked Georgia when Jerry Jarrett was one of the guys that sent talent from when they first split, when Gunkel first split off and took the talent, because the territories, again, bordered Tennessee and Georgia. And, Lawler, Jarrett, everybody went for the established office, and Barnett and Jarrett had a good relationship. So maybe it was that Gary Lawler.
Yeah, I'm calling bullshit. I don't think it was Jerry Lawler.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense.
I don't see why. But who would have put that there? As Joe LeDuc said one time, who would have put that there?
And by the way, August 4th, 75, Memphis, Mid-South Coliseum, Lawler and Don Green Lawler and Don Green went to a draw with Luke Graham and Bill Dundee.
Okay, well, and that because I thought it was July because of I blame the British. In August, Lawler was already back in Memphis. And in that case, I should check my Louisville book again. But nevertheless, it's a mystery.
One last thing, I found a newspaper clipping from one of the local papers here. This is from the website whenitwascool.com. Mil Mascaras successfully defended his international wrestling title against Ernie Ladd. Also, Bulldog Brower TKO'd the Mighty Igor on cuts. 59-year-old Lou Thez flattened Derek the Red. Other victors included Ricky Starr, Johnny Powers, and Pistol Pez Watley. In tag team competition, Apollo and Martinez knocked off the Mongols in a non-title bout. Miguel Perez and Carlos Colon took the measure of Rip Hawk and Beautiful Bruce. TV color commentator Tex McKenzie teamed with Dino Bravo to defeat the Love Brothers, while Cowboy Bob Ellis and Nelson Royal lost to Lars Anderson, who they called Larry Heinemey on the show. So I don't know why it says Lars Anderson, and Kurt Von Hess. A crowd of more than 8,100 paid more than $75,000 to witness the action.
And nobody said anything about the girls' match that was listed either,
or Lawler,
as opening the show.
Yeah.
Or, well, in addition to that, hold on here. Wait a minute. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, we could solve this mystery. We're asking other people to do it. We could do it with just a little bit of effort. Maybe a little bit of music.
That's why I've made an effort to lean over and get this note that, if anybody has done the Daisy May or Maria de Leon record books, and because all those other matches seem to be accounted for except those two.
Where did they come from? They weren't Moolah girls, were they?
I guess they came from their
working for
mother and father's, undying love for each other. I don't know where they were from. It wasn't my week to book them. Anyhow.
I just thought due to your love of female wrestling, you would know the history of these two.
Well, that was back when it was a shoot, though, just like roller derby.
What'd you get? You got a book? What'd you look up? What do you got?
Well, no, I'd had because I dropped my one note there, and I wanted to remind myself what those girls' names were.
Oh, I thought you were.
I don't have all. No, I'm covered up in notes and jottings and pads and things and such because of all the things that we've been watching.